Hey, good morning. Hopefully everyone's doing well, or afternoon, depending on which class you're in. Um, so we've talked about, I know this isn't filled out, but it should be by then, the exterior angle theorem. Talked about angles and triangles, angle relationships, stuff like that. So now we're going to talk about parallel lines a little bit. So oftentimes people think of parallel lines as lines that never intersect, which is partly true, but there's a caveat to that. There are lines that never intersect that are in the same plane. Right? If we think about lines in different planes, so like if you would have a line on a piece of paper on one side of the room and a line on the piece of paper on the other side of the room, they may not intersect, but they may not be parallel either. So they have to be on the same plane. Now, the good news about parallel lines in transversals is they only have two options with pairs of angles. And those options are, they are either congruent or they are supplementary. I'm going to run out of space here, of course, but so either they're the same or they add up to 180. Those are the only options. Okay. And we do have some vocabulary for this. The good news is a lot of the words make sense, and these words should be on your vocab sheet or Jamboard, and I don't know if I gave you quite enough time to finish those. But just real quick, corresponding angles are angles that are like in the same relationship relative to the parallel line. So I don't actually see an example of that right here. So let me move ahead a couple pages. So corresponding angles would be, here's my two parallel lines, here's my transversal, and oftentimes we use this little symbol, like the arrow thing, to show that they're corresponding, or to show that they're parallel. See how that angle's kind of in the top left of those, that set of four up there? So that would correspond to this angle. This angle, kind of in the top right, would correspond to this angle. This angle, kind of in the bottom left of that set, would correspond to this angle. And this angle would correspond to this angle. Corresponding angles are always congruent. Okay, they're the same. So that's one word. It takes care of that one. The next word, alternate interior. So when you think about alternate, think about the transversal. The transversal is this line. It's a line that goes through the parallel lines. So alternate means there's one angle on either side of it. Interior deals with between the parallel lines. So a set of alternate interior angles would be like this and this. Another set would be this and this. Alternate interior angles are always congruent. So they're equal to each other. All right, alternate exterior. So now we're still in the alternate, but now we're on the exterior of the parallel lines. So alternate sides of the transversal, like this and this, outside of the parallel lines, like this and this. Those are always congruent as well. What's next? That takes care of that. Same side interior. Okay. So same side interior. So it kind of tells you what it is here. All right, we are on the same side of the transversal, and we're on the inside. So for instance, this angle, and I hate to use these symbols again, so I think I'm actually going to erase that and just put arrows maybe. Let me change the color. This angle and this angle are same side interior. This angle and this angle are same side interior. And those angles are not congruent. If you notice, there's one that's acute and one's that is obtuse. So those angles are supplementary. And that brings up a good point. If you have one that's acute and the other one's acute and you know the lines are parallel, then they're going to be congruent. Likewise, if you have one that's obtuse and another one that's obtuse, as long as the lines are parallel, they're going to be congruent. If you have an acute and an obtuse, then you know they're going to be supplementary. You will also sometimes see same side interior called consecutive interior. Okay. Now we also have vertical and adjacent, but we already know, we should know what those two are. Okay, so number one, see how these are just dealing with the top line. So they're none of those new words. Number one would just be vertical, and they are congruent. Vertical angles are always congruent. Number two, they're on opposite sides of the transversal. They're on the exterior of the parallel line. So those would be alternate exterior. Okay, either look they're both acute or just know that alternate exterior angles are always congruent. Number three, inside the parallel lines, same side of the transversal. So same side interior. And those would be supplementary. One's acute, one's obtuse. Number four. Oh, wow. Number four. Those are on the same side, or sorry, well, they're on the same side of the transversal, but they're only dealing with one parallel line. Those are simply adjacent angles, and those would be supplementary. And number five, again, vertical. Those would be congruent. Number six is like number two. Those are alternate exterior. And those are congruent. Sorry for that weird symbol. All right. So hopefully that helps with that. Now the solving of these. Really, there's not a ton to talk about here. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit, see if this is too much. Maybe. But we'll survive. Okay, so for this one, I see my two parallel lines. Those are adjacent angles. One's acute, one's obtuse. So those ones must be supplementary. So I'm just going to add them up and set it equal to 180. X would be -10. And I think the directions, or maybe they didn't, find the measure of the angle in bold. So I'd plug in -10 plus 90, and I would say that's 80 degrees. So that would be my final answer. Going over here, these are alternate interior. They're both acute. So this is going to be a situation where they are equal. So if I move stuff over, I get x equals 9. So if I plug that back into the bold angle, let's see, 7 times 9 is 63, plus 17 should be 80 degrees again. Moving down here, those are same side interior. One's acute, one's obtuse. So this is going to be a supplementary situation. Hopefully I don't run out of room. So I combine like terms. Ooh, the 9s cancel out. That's nice. So I get x equals 9. If I plug that back in, 7 times 9 minus 9. 7 times 9 is 63. Minus 9 should be 54 degrees. And I know I might be moving a little fast, but you can always go back and look at these. Number 3, those are alternate exterior. They're both obtuse, so they're going to be congruent. So I set them equal to each other. I do my magic. X equals 8. So I plug that back in. 12 times 8 should be 96. plus 14 should be 110 degrees. So that is the basic rundown of parallel lines and transversals. Obviously, we're going to do more with this. Obviously, you can always ask questions through email or wait for me to get back in class. So hopefully that helps. And yeah, have a wonderful day.